Hey everyone, I'm Charting Man Dan. I've been trading cannabis stocks for over 13 years. In this video, we're going to check in on the sector after another bullish week, and I'm a bit under the weather, so don't take my lower energy demeanor to mean anything other than I'm tired. So I'm going to reference the video I did a couple days ago a few times here just for continuity's sake, and not a ton has changed since then, but a little bit of an update. So MSOS, as we know, it's all about 988. That's the HHS reaction high. If we get over that level, it's the first confirmed monthly uptrend that we have ever had in the ETF, which would be a notable shift as far as a bottoming pattern taking place. And we're 4 days away from closing above weekly EMA 12 resistance after 5 rejections. We're on the verge of closing above it for the first time. So as we know, things are slowly shifting. And again, the way that I describe it is I have a video called the balancing trade setup. And it's when you have supply outweighing demand very significantly, and then the scales start to do this. And so now we're on the verge of the scales attempting to flip, where demand exceeds supply in a longer term manner, which again, we have not seen in years in this sector. So everything's looking good here. Again, I went out on a limb once I saw the volume behind the HHS reaction, saying that, I think the bottom's in, and put my money where my mouth was. Definitely more of a retracement here than the bulls wanted to see, but things are looking good now. So as far as the fundamental side of things, again, we're getting DEA sources saying in the summer we're going to look for rescheduling. I always thought late summer, just because that's when in election years, that's when I focus on the sector. Obviously, it's a bit sooner this time around, but historically, looking back at my 13 years of trading cannabis stocks, going into the summer of an election year where individual states were going to be voting on legalization, that's when I started paying attention to the sector, and then you get that run up into the fall. And so I always thought, if I had to guess, I would say that the administration would want to have that headline end of the summer coasting into the election, but it's just a wild guess. We just have to keep in mind that it could be a while, it could be months, and the interest here will have periods where it fades a bit. For example, right now, MSOS, we've set a higher low every single week, 5 weeks in a row. When's the last time that's happened? It's been a long time. We're fairly close to doing it back here in September, but we didn't do it. Really, it hasn't been since that run. So we know there's going to be weekly consolidation, and I can predict the future. Ready? Here's a prediction. Social media is going to have a negative impact, or I should say that the price is going to negatively impact sentiment on social media. When we see weekly consolidation, we will see people talking about how, still nothing has changed and it could be months ahead and all that. And that's all true. But we're going to be looking for weekly higher lows is the most likely scenario. And that's the same thing in the broader stock market. Looking at the monthly chart, where during this pullback through the summer and into the fall, that was my mindset. I know sentiment. I know the monthly chart has to consolidate. I know a monthly higher low is most likely, and I know what sentiment is going to be when that monthly consolidation is taking place. So when I can predict in advance, I know what the sentiment is going to be when MSOS, again, there's no sign of weekly consolidation in this moment, but let's just say it were to get going, we're going to be down 20% off the high at some point, and people are going to be negative in response to that. And so being able to foresee that allows me to make unemotionally impacted decisions when that time comes. And I will absolutely be looking for weekly higher lows. And we're going to talk about CMPS, which had a great weekly higher low entry for longs. But no sign of consolidation. As I said in the last video, only two things are going to happen here in the next couple of weeks. We're either going to break 988 or we're going to lose the daily uptrend. One of those two things is going to happen. And the bulls have a lot of space here. We definitely saw some profit taking. And again, it's the gaps. The gaps don't always. There was a period where it was like 11 gap ups in a row marked daily consolidation. And we had one here that was a gap and go. So that broke the pattern. That broke the streak. But here was a gap that led to daily consolidation. And again, just no gap ups until Friday. So this is telling me, again, if I can look back and say, how many times has a gap up led to daily consolidation? And if it's, 11 of the last 12 times, it's something like that. I don't have the exact number off the top of my head here, but we're going to be expecting potential of some daily consolidation. And anything above 770 will be a daily higher low. An aggressive bull is going to buy a daily higher low. A patient bull is going to wait for weekly consolidation to buy a weekly higher low. So I also talked in the last video about, again, I want to put my bear glasses on just because when everybody's looking one direction, when everybody's, pumped, I put my bear glasses on just to ensure I'm not surprised by anything. And I'm looking at things from both angles so I don't have too much of a bias. And again, this is a potential of a rising wedge type of setup where if this breaks bear, that's going to likely be the start of weekly consolidation. So at this point, the bears need to confirm, well, you could say we had an hourly downtrend on Friday with this lower high and lower low. Granted, only broke the low by a penny. But simple statement, if we break the low of Friday on Monday, 9/11, we're going to look at daily consolidation being underway. The bulls really want to hold daily EMA 12 to keep complete control. But again, just being open to retracement size as giving us information. How much are we going to pull back from the last daily higher low? If you're a bear, you want to see 50% plus retracement and a loss of 857, which is the 50% retracement from this most recent leg up. If you want to stay bullish, you want to hold 382 retracement and try and be a little bull flag. But the gap up combined with the low of the day close, combined with the fact that the broader market started some daily consolidation to end the week as well, has me prepared for daily consolidation this coming week. And what the bulls want to see is first hourly oversold mark the daily higher low. And the last time around, we got pretty close, didn't even hit hourly oversold. It was front run a bit. The hourly RSI got down to about 31, 32. That set the daily higher low. And again, as I keep saying, one of the major characteristics of a bull market is when shorter term oversold RSI levels mark the longer term higher lows. And just looking at our back burner indicator, we can look and see that the bulls have been buying these back burner bounces where, the drop on Thursday, the back burner marked the low of the day. That's a great sign. And then on Friday, the back burner led to a bounce. It led to a 2% plus bounce, almost 3%. But when the back burner level that is hit gets a bounce and then drops to the lower low, that tells us things are shifting a little bit. So again, that tells us to be watching for daily consolidation and watching for first hourly oversold conditions, which aren't close yet. We would need to drop down towards 870, 860. And with this indicator, you can see where that oversold would be here in the moment. It would be in the 870s, would be hourly oversold if we were to drop straight to that. All right, so watch for daily consolidation. As far as the individual names, we know TCNNF has stepped up as a lead bull with the narrative of Florida and the potential of voting for recreational being on the ballot in November, which would certainly be a big catalyst for Trulieve if that were to happen. Again, same deal, watching for daily consolidation eventually. We've gone up, we had a 30% plus week here, which is obviously huge. And from the last daily consolidation, we're up 47%. So again, consolidation is inevitable. It's a part of uptrends. If we break 820, daily consolidation underway, tons of space for that higher low, and watching daily EMA 12. I love when we have an EMA guide where we can just say, as long as bulls hold this level, they keep complete control. And that's a level that we'll be watching as daily consolidation begins. TCNNF looks healthier than MSOS just with the daily candle on Friday. But, if MSOS starts daily consolidation, it's obviously going to weigh on TCNNF. And again, comparing the individual names, TCNNF divided by MSOS, shows us the massive shift in relative strength, getting to the strongest it's been compared to the ETF in a good bit over a year here. And so with that happening, we're seeing other names weaken a little bit. GTBIF has been the lead bull for years in this sector. And it is currently on Friday, it hit the weakest that it's been compared to MSOS in a month, over a month, 6 weeks. So what we're seeing is that information tells us that there's a bit more focus shifting to Trulieve, and GTBIF is seeing a little bit of attention taken away from it. And, looking at, I know a lot of people are watching tier 2 names, and when the party gets going and when there's headlines and Reddit and FOMO and all that, the tier 2 names are very likely to outperform the tier 1 names in terms of percentage gains because they're less liquid, a little bit of dollar volume goes a long way. And when everybody's rushing in the door at the same time, it works both directions. These names were hit harder in the bear market because of a lack of liquidity, and they will go up harder in a bull market because of a lack of liquidity. If everybody's trying to rush through the door at the same time, these things really move. So some of the lower tier names, AYRWF, and I haven't been following the warrants. Was warrants? I haven't been following the fundamentals. I know a lot of you have, but that's not my jam for the sector. But we're seeing a similar setup where AYRWF divided by MSOS is at a key level here. And we can see that this zone of relative strength is the strongest we've been compared to MSOS in the last 4 months or so. No, a year. That's a lot more. A year before, like 16 months, 15 months or something. So same thing is Truly. We cleared that hurdle and it stood out. Watch this level if AYRWF is going to make a significant shift in terms of its relative strength. If not, if we reject from this level, then we're just going to keep tightening up here and eventually get a break, sometime in a month or so. But key test right now taking place. And other names, VRNOF, trying to get back to the recent high in terms of relative strength. Definitely in an uptrend in terms of that relative strength. But as far as any other individual name, I'm not going to go into every single name's analysis, but it's just look at the low. The last low was last Friday. That's the must-hold level to maintain the daily uptrend. Again, we're starting to see bull breaks, lack a bit of follow-through, starting to keep an eye out for the possibility of a rising wedge. But the simple statement is if we form a higher low compared to last Friday for the vast majority of individual names, we're just continuing the daily uptrend, and there's nothing changing dramatically. We would need to lose the daily uptrend. We would need to see something like a head and shoulders. What would that look like? If GTBIF were going to give us a head and shoulders, it would be something like this: hold the daily uptrend, fail the recent high, roll over into weekly consolidation. So again, I'm not saying that's the most likely scenario, but I know what weekly consolidation shaping up would look like, and that can help me, maybe remain patient and wait for the weekly consolidation. But I do know that I will be interested in hourly oversold conditions the next time we see them from here to look for a bounce. And my strategy is, let's just say MSOS were to dump on Monday. If we dump down to 870, I buy hourly oversold, I sell half, maybe at 890 for a little couple percent bounce, stick my stop at break even. Because again, the way that strategy works is if you're in a strong bull market, the hourly oversold drops, mark the higher lows, and that's your best entry. And then you leave a runner that's risk-free and potentially continue to benefit from the uptrend. And if not, if you stop out, you don't lose anything, and that tells you to zoom out to the weekly chart and be more patient. So that's my style of playing oversold bounces in a bull market. Canadian names, TLRY, down 4% on Friday. Again, nothing's changing from what I said last video. Make it as simple as possible. Trading is extremely difficult. We can make it more simple. I can say that if 209 is resistance, the bears have full control and nothing is changing. We're testing daily support of 189. If that breaks, we resume the daily downtrend. Right now, it's an equilibrium where we're tightening up, but the lower highs is the most clear thing. Specifically, again, I keep pointing out TLRY divided by MSOS is hitting the weakest it has ever hit in the history of the MSOS. It says dinosaur. It's new to me. All right. New for trading view dinosaurs. Anyways, this is the weakest that TLRY has ever been since MSOS has traded. We can't ignore that. We can't just say, whatever. You have to take facts. And I know a lot of people attach to a bias and attach to a company and a story, and they will die with that story. And that's how I lost a bunch of money when I started trading. And I learned that's not the way to play this game. You have to be unattached to any of these names. They don't owe you anything. You don't owe them anything. They have to earn your capital by proving strength and uptrends. And if they're not performing, you ditch them and you kick them to the curb. But I'll be interested in TLRY if we break the daily lower high pattern. But if we don't do that, right now we're almost 10% under daily resistance. And CGC, it's the same thing. Yes, we're tightening up. Yes, this can shift quickly with a high volume break, but the simple statement is every bounce is just a lower high, 512. Then we top out at 506. Then we top out at 496. What's happening there? Shorts are playing off previous resistance and being rewarded for doing so. And as long as we keep setting lower highs, they're going to keep doing it. And so, simple statement, if 496, I'll just round to 5 psychological, if 5 is resistance, the bulls are not proving a thing in these names. And if you just go back and look at the last 2 weeks of action, very glaringly clearly, it's been better to be in US names than Canadian names. That may change. There may be periods of laggard action. Maybe we get a headline. But until that happens, you have to accept the information that's smashing you in the face. And that's what's been happening for a couple of weeks now in this sector. So, all right. CMPS. I just keep highlighting this psychedelic name because I loved this weekly setup and it's playing out to perfection. And in the last video, I put a clip, from 3 weeks ago talking about best case scenario, how could this shape up? And it's to a T exactly what bulls wanted to see. We have the weekly bull flag confirming. We have the weekly inverse head and shoulders. We had an extremely bullish week up 30, I don't even know what, a lot. We were up a lot, 40% maybe on the week, 33%. The volume is ticking up. Look at the volume here. What stands out to us? Well, in the last 8 months of trading, the 2 highest volume candles have been recently, and they've been all bull. And the volume for the bears has been low and declining on consolidation, which is exactly what you want to see. So what we have now is we're approaching our key resistance zones. We've got 1092 to 1148. Look at all that price action there. And look at where we stopped out or stalled out on Friday, where this is the level that we're battling, the zone, 5% range. And so we have earnings coming up as well, which are going to be a factor. Bull cross of these EMAs for the first time in over a year. Just everything perfect. We're going to look for a daily high or low next consolidation. There's a ton of space for it to form. Ideally, the bulls hold EMA 12 to keep it healthy and to try and see continuation. Whenever we top out, we've seen a lot of strength, the volume picking up Thursday, Friday. This move ran away without me. This is why, technical analysis is one thing and trading is another thing. And you can be really on point with technical analysis, but execution of trading can be more difficult. And so I nailed this move in terms of my technical analysis, and I didn't make any money off of it. And that's because I was focused on other things. And really what it was is this move just was too fast for me to get an entry that I liked. And it reminds me of a uranium name, CCJ, where it was the same thing. Weekly consolidation, looking for a weekly high or low, right off EMA 12. And then the bulls just showed up out of nowhere over a span of 4 days, just a rocket ship, leaving everybody in the dust. And it just reminds me of that. But we also then pulled back over the last 2 weeks from that point. My point is, this did not allow bulls, unless to make an entry here, you would have had to have assumed that weekly EMA 12 was going to hold. And I didn't have that much confidence. I wanted to see that weekly EMA 12 could hold. And in hindsight, what I could have done is the break of 852 could have been enough, because that broke the high of the last weekly candle. That could have been enough for me to say, all right, that's either the weekly high or low, or I'm wrong. Stick my stop under 766. I'd be risking a significant amount. I mean, that's a 12 or 13% risk, so my position size would have to reflect that. But at this point, again, same thing. I'm watching for first hourly oversold. I'm watching for a daily high or low. And bigger picture, this name, if we can clear that zone in the 11s, there's very little until 2150. And so that, again, same thing. Look at the monthly EMA 12, just like MSOS. Just struggling at monthly EMA 12, and we're getting over it for the first time. So overall progress, but again, just be prepared for the weekly consolidation. It's going to be inevitable. Have your game plans established. Are you going to be buying hourly oversold for a bounce? We have a lot of active traders in our chat room that take advantage of these moves, whether it's shorting at a clear resistance level to hedge, or whether it's playing these oversold bounces. And keeping in mind that these people and myself have many years of experience. So I get messages from people that are like, I want to learn trading now that things are shifting. And in all honesty, what have you been doing the last 2 years? You should have been preparing and been able to smash this opportunity when things were slow and boring. And now that things are picking up again, you're trying to learn a skill set that takes a ton of time and dedication and years. I mean, it's better to start, the best time to start learning technical analysis was yesterday. So I'm not going to discourage people from learning, but just have to be, you have to be real with yourself and understand that this takes thousands of hours and it takes years to get down and to get this skill set. But now I'm ranting. I hope you're well. Do good things. And congrats to the Bulls.